Welcome faculty and guests to this open session, an introduction to our faculty. I am thrilled to be here with you today. And I want to take this opportunity to not only thank you for joining us today and making time to be here with us, but really to take this moment to introduce you, and I'm doing this with great excitement, the introduction formally to our community in an open space of our next provost and senior vice president for academic affairs, Dr. Jerne Cornish. I'm absolutely thrilled that Jerne is joining our community here at Ithaca College, and you're going to be hearing from several people about why we're here today and why we feel so affirmed about this decision. But this is my opportunity to really offer my deepest thanks to our amazing co-chairs of this search. Professor Jeane Hardwick in biology, and where is Professor Jack Powers? Not here yet. He's on his way from class, so he has a good excuse. Jeane and Jack work diligently, really with great heart and vision, and as you will see clearly today, with great commitment to the faculty, great commitment to the academic vision of this institution. So thank you, Jeane, for your incredible leadership, and thank you to Jack Powers. They've really led a fierce team. And this is my opportunity, too, to thank the members of the search committee. You probably know who they are, but I need to recognize them. And some are unable to join us, but are in other sessions today. Duncan Duke Garcia, Belisa Gonzalez, Chris McNamara, Michael Richardson, Uta St. Clair, and Baruch Whitehead were members of our faculty, in addition to Jack and Jeane, representing the search committee on behalf of the institution. As far as staff are concerned, Marila Dispensa and Gerard Turbide provide tremendous service to the committee. And we had two outstanding students, Danielle Ciolfi and Elise Harris, who gave hours and hours of heart and time and added such a voice to this search that we're incredibly grateful to them for. So to the search committee, thank you for being on this journey and paying such a tremendous service to the institution as we look forward at Ithaca College. This search process was rigorous, it was collaborative, it was focused, and as I said in my email to the campus community just last week as I announced Jerne's appointment, we found exactly the provost that we were looking for. And I want to remind all of you that that I have a great debt to the faculty, and that when I started in the fall, the reason that we are now here in May is that I spent the entire fall semester working with many members of the faculty in conversations and faculty council in working sessions as we put together the leadership profile for the next provost. Jerne is an experienced leader in higher education, a master at shared governance, a talented administrator who values and promotes cross-sector and cross-disciplinary work. It's the core of who she is and the work that she's done. And at her core, she is a deep advocate for faculty, for student success, and full participation throughout all levels and all sectors of the academy. She will certainly be a valued partner to me as president and to my senior leadership team, and certainly to our faculty. I have no doubt. And Jerne, I just want to personally say to you in this room, I could not be more happy to be welcoming you as my partner here at Ithaca College. This was a big decision on your part and Deborah's part, and I give you the warmest welcome. I'm so excited to have you by my side next year. So I'm going to get out of the way because we have some of your colleagues who are eager to talk with you very briefly about Jerne and about this appointment. And then we'll have a few minutes with Jerne, and we'll take a few minutes for questions. So thank you. Thank you for being here.
So first of all, thank you everyone for coming out here today. I know this is a really tough time to find an hour, but we all know how important this position is to all of us, and so I'm really thankful that all of you were able to find some time. Just a reminder that there is an additional opportunity for more informal time to meet Lejeune this afternoon at the Handworker Gallery from 3:30 to 4:30 for faculty. Again, no formal presentations, some light refreshments, and an opportunity for informal conversation. So we would encourage all of you, if you're to come with your colleagues as well who weren't able to make it today, to meet her in person. So as a co-chair of the search committee, I know I speak for all of us when I say how incredibly delighted and thrilled we are with the final outcome of this search. This has been a very long process, but we're really delighted at where we've ended up. We wanted to take this opportunity to introduce all of you to Jerne Cornish, for those of you who didn't have the chance to meet her when she was on campus back about a month ago. And we wanted to try and give you an opportunity to see, and a glimpse to see why we felt she was such the perfect fit for this position. I have some other folks helping me, some other faculty. Jeane Copenhaver-Johnson from the Department of Education, Chris McNamara, Clinical Associate Professor in Physical Therapy, and Michael Richardson, a Professor in Modern Languages, to give you some of their perspectives on Dr. Cornish. And I wanted to share with you just a little bit more information about the search process itself and how we ended up here. We had over 75 applications for this position, and this was a very deep and a very diverse pool, and most of them had very strong administrative experiences. They had served as deans, they had served in a provost's office, and so we had a lot of really strong candidates to evaluate. We were, of course, looking for these kind of highly qualified candidates, but we weren't looking for just any highly qualified candidate. We didn't want someone who just wanted to be a provost, but we wanted someone who wanted to be this provost, who wanted to be at Ithaca College, who valued who we are and who we're trying to be. And we wanted someone who could partner with President Collado as she developed her new strategic plan and vision for the college. Our leadership profile was extensive, and so we needed to look for individuals with a very broad range of experiences and skills. And we wanted someone who demonstrated that they were committed to more than just coming up with ideas for change, but actually turning those ideas into policies and programs, enacting those policies and programs, and importantly, looking at those programs and evaluating how they were working and where they needed to be adjusted. So we wanted someone who showed commitment, who shows reliability, and as we heard over and over again when we did our listening sessions, we wanted someone who's going to stay more than a year or two. So the search committee narrowed down our applications to 10 strong candidates and who fit these criteria, and we invited them for some off-campus interviews. We spoke with each candidate at length, and President Collado had an opportunity to have a conversation with each one of them as well. After our interviews were completed, the committee discussed all of the candidates and had a discussion with President Collado to get her feedback. And throughout this entire process, Dr. Cornish was consistently identified as one of our stronger applicants. She continued to be at the forefront throughout the entire interview process. She described herself in her application as a servant leader, whose core values are transparency, honesty, and reliability. She characterized her administrative style as leading by example, by building bridges where necessary, earning trust, and creating a culture of mutual respect by engaging in courageous conversation with faculty, staff, and students. These descriptions of herself were validated throughout our interview process. We were all highly impressed with her wide array of experiences and accomplishments, and the fact that these experiences were in areas directly relevant to the issues that we're facing at Ithaca College was a key factor in our selection process. During her campus visit, Dr. Cornish continued to garner praise from faculty, staff, students, and administrators, and her energy and vision for the college is truly exciting. She also spoke for our need for stability and leadership, and we couldn't agree more. So when President Collado announced that she had offered the position to Dr. Cornish and that Dr. Cornish had accepted, I personally was thrilled. Today's the first opportunity for the rest of the college to see what we saw, and we want to introduce Dr. Cornish to you officially and really summarize some of the things that we think make her the ideal person for this position. Dr. Cornish received her doctorate in the field of education, and I'd like to ask Jeane Copenhaver-Johnson, Chair of the Education Department, to speak to her professional activities at Goucher as an education faculty member and how those experiences will benefit Ithaca College. Jeane?
Good afternoon. I didn't have the privilege of meeting Dr. Cornish until this morning. That was my first introduction. But I feel as if I've known about her for a long time, from reading her work, reading what others have written about her work, and reading the evaluations of the impact of her work on her campus. And I'll be speaking mostly about her work as a faculty member. Dr. Cornish's roots as an educator run deep, and her leadership talents were in evidence early and at every successive stage of her career. She attended Goucher as an undergraduate, graduating from the very program she herself would someday return and be leading. She taught English in the Baltimore City Public Schools, and observing her career timeline, it is easy to see why she was identified for increasing levels of responsibility in every position she's held. From coordinator to house principal to vice principal, Dr. Cornish has seen it as a personal obligation to make a measurable positive impact on schools. Now, as an academic faculty member in the education department at Goucher, she deepened this tradition, expanding her sphere of influence. As you'll hear from each of us, she is one of those faculty members we call doers. They make the very hard workers in the room feel like slackers. While climbing the academic ladder, earning her PhD, studying beginning teacher mentorship, and building even more robust relationships between her program and the local schools, her professional accomplishments were often described as extraordinary. She also joined the teacher education faculty when the teacher education programs at Goucher were on state probation. That's enough to make my hair stand up. Her early leadership and roll-up-your-sleeves engagement, even as a pre-tenured faculty member in program improvement, in analyzing program data, in relaying these self-study findings to the state, contributed to their programs being restored to fully accredited status. And as educators, we know how hard this is. And it was not lost on her that self-study in a crisis like this should be an opportunity to strengthen programs. She has used every tool in her faculty toolkit to better the preparation of teachers, including close, lifelong mentoring, developing relationships between the education programs and the liberal arts programs, integrating research-based practices into her teaching, and leveraging the deep respect she had already earned in the school system to create robust relationships between the campus and P-12 partners. As a mid-career faculty member, she became a respected collaborative department chair, stepping into campus-wide improvement initiatives and eventually transitioning into a campus-wide leadership position that she currently holds and will be leaving, and where she developed the skills you'll be hearing more about shortly. As we looked at her work, 4 things impressed us the most. One is that she models what it means to take the work of education seriously. There is no time to waste when it comes to making college campuses more inclusive and preparing teachers to become skilled, reflective practitioners with strong research understandings and rich pedagogical toolkits. There is no time to waste. She also is a model of an affirming colleague and a college teacher. We expect education faculty members to embody the knowledge, skills, and dispositions that we advance as best practice. According to her students and her more senior colleagues, she absolutely models the kind of faculty member whose impact on her students' lives lasts decades. And even as a pre-tenured faculty member, she was sought out by more senior faculty members to help them improve their teaching. And in a world where so many faculty are encouraged to just say no to service, she models what it means to step up and step in to service. Dr. Cornish, by her own admission, has often and nearly always said yes to opportunities, and she makes that service meaningful on its impact on the campus, for this is partly how we create the conditions for our students to thrive and in turn create a better, more socially just world. And then finally, she understands how scholarship, teaching, and service can intersect and inform each other. She models this best through a study abroad program you'll hear more about shortly, where she uses her scholarship, her grant writing, and her teaching collaboratively to be of service. She also does this by advancing our understandings of college students' racial identity development and sharing how that knowledge can and should impact teaching within our discipline. So anyone who is afraid that Dr. Cornish won't remember what it's like to be a real faculty member need not worry. She has invested herself deeply in her faculty work, making an impact on the profession that any faculty member would be proud to claim. She will understand how hard and how urgent our work is, and she will raise the bar for all of us, as she so often has her own students, colleagues, and campus, to do and be better. So you'll hear more about her now from Chris McNamara, a member of the Provost Search Committee.
Thank you. I had the good fortune and adventure to meet Dr. Cornish at 9 o'clock in the morning. And when you get to know her, you're going to realize that the energy she has at 9 o'clock is the same energy that she has at 2 o'clock, and that's the same energy she has at 10 o'clock that night. So when Jeane said it makes the workers in the room feel like slackers, I have no doubt. As a faculty member, I was looking for a provost who would be a faculty advocate, someone who would build consensus and then take action. I was looking for a leader who's also a facilitator. In Dr. Cornish, we have found both. At every step of the interview process, Dr. Cornish affirmed for me that her experience, philosophy, and leadership style speak to the present and future of Ithaca College. She's demonstrated that as an educator and as an administrator, she's both goal and action oriented. We have all heard the philosophy to be the change that you wish to see in the world. And perhaps like me, you've even tried to impart this in some way to your students. In her role as an educator and administrator, our new provost takes this to the next step. Dr. Cornish puts this into action. Of Dr. Cornish's many accomplishments, I want to highlight one that stands out for me because it demonstrates the value she places on listening, gathering feedback, taking action, and facilitating change. In 2003, Dr. Cornish had a conversation with two of her students, both math majors with a concentration in secondary education, who had just returned from a study abroad trip to Grahamstown, South Africa. On this trip, they spent 6 weeks teaching mathematics to middle school students in a township and rural school. Her students told her that they were forever changed by this experience. They had, and I quote, never before seen such poverty or disparity, never experienced being a minority before, and had never been so far out of their comfort zone. And they told her more. They said never had they seen students who were so eager to learn. The experience not only enriched them, it empowered them by creating the vital connection that happens when education is combined with action. Recognizing its transformative potential, Dr. Cornish traveled there herself. She immersed herself in the same experience and gathered insight, information about its potential as an opportunity for other Goucher students. Consequently, she facilitated the creation of the Township and Rural Education in South Africa Intensive Course Abroad, a 6-week intensive study abroad experience for pre-education majors. The experience expanded quickly to include English as well as math, and was led each summer by Dr. Cornish. It's now in its 12th year at Goucher. It allows students the opportunity to thrive by stepping outside of their comfort zone and using the privilege, responsibility, and value of their education to contribute to community. She listened, she gathered information, built consensus, and in consultation and collaboration with faculty and students, worked to develop an experience that is both educational and transformative for everyone involved. I look forward to working with a provost who has demonstrated that she is well equipped to be our chief academic visionary. She will be a faculty advocate who will listen, consult, collaborate, and create. I welcome Dr. Cornish to Ithaca College, and I look forward to working with her. And now I'd like to introduce fellow Search Committee member Mike Richardson, Professor of Modern Languages.
Thanks, Chris. As a Search Committee member, as a faculty member, I'm very excited to welcome Dr. Jerne Cornish to Ithaca College. I believe we're fortunate to have found someone of her abilities, her enthusiasm, and her mindset to serve as our next provost. Effective academic leadership is a tricky business. Not only do we expect our leaders to provide us with a compelling vision for the future, one that inspires, motivates, and unites us. But they must also be able to balance a variety of needs and wants from diverse individuals and constituencies. At the level of provost, there's an additional challenge. For while we expect our provost to be able to handle a broad range of administrative responsibilities, we also look to that person as a leader and as an advocate for the faculty as a whole. Certainly, Dr. Cornish comes to us with a wealth of administrative qualifications of the sort that any institution needs in a provost. A fluency in the languages of budgets and enrollment data, knowledge of accreditation processes, curricular review, academic policy review, experience supervising and collaborating with both staff and faculty. She's also someone who has been deeply involved in the entirety of the student educational experience, from orientation and first-year experiences to advising and retention. She has worked with scholarship students and students facing judicial review, students struggling to stay afloat, and students who crave additional challenges and learning opportunities. As my colleagues have shared with you, Dr. Cornish is, at heart, an educator and a scholar, one who has made deep and lasting contributions to both her students and to her field of expertise. Regardless of which school we inhabit, this dedication to students and to the pursuit of knowledge is what defines all of us here today. In that regard, Dr. Cornish will be right at home at Ithaca. But being a successful academic leader requires something more in terms of how one engages with the academic community. What we want, what we need, is a provost who can and will be a strong advocate for the academic mission of the institution, and by extension, a strong advocate for faculty. The Vice President for Academic Affairs must be someone who, to be sure, can work with the President to articulate and implement a bold vision. But it must also be someone who is capable of supporting those of us who are equally committed to lives of scholarship, service, and education. Someone who recognizes and appreciates the deep and lasting bonds that faculty form with our students. Someone who understands that faculty development and student achievement are not mutually exclusive, but deeply linked. Dr. Cornish is precisely that person, for she comes to us not only with a record as a teacher and a scholar, as someone who has lived through the challenges of balancing the various demands put on faculty, but as a faculty leader, one whose experiences and ideas have reflected a deep commitment to putting students and faculty alike in the position to grow, to thrive, and to succeed. Her faculty peers at Goucher, some of whom were the most enthusiastic voices in support of her candidacy, describe her as a strong leader, but also a good listener, one who is committed to making decisions that follow a thoughtful and inclusive process. First as department chair, then as faculty chair, a position to which she was elected by her faculty colleagues, Dr. Cornish has demonstrated a commitment to inclusive leadership. As faculty chair, she served as a liaison between administration and faculty. Not only did she lead the Faculty Executive Council, working together with chairs of a wide range of faculty committees from budget and planning to tenure and promotion, but she also represented the faculty at college council meetings, articulating their concerns to college leadership and working to mediate conflicts that inevitably arose between faculty and administration and within academic departments and divisions. In short, she has shown herself to be precisely the sort of provost we need, someone who will not just be joining the president's leadership team as one of several, but who will stand at the intersection of faculty and administration and be a voice, be our voice, for an Ithaca College that puts academics at the forefront of everything that we do. So without any further ado, it's my honor to introduce to you the next Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dr. Jerne Cornish.
Wow. Good afternoon. Oh, come on. You got to give me more than that. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I am absolutely positively delighted to be with you today and to join this community. Before I begin, I need to thank President Collado for her remarks. Thank you, Jeane. Thank you, Jeane. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Michael. And thank you, Jack. When we last saw one another, we looked at one another and said we hoped that we would see one another again. And indeed, we are having that opportunity to see one another again. Let me tell you a little bit about who I am as a person. How did I get here? I think my story is important to this, and so I need to share it. When I was a senior in high school, my history teacher said to me, "Where are you going to school next year?" And I said, "I'm not." And she said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "My mother is very ill, and I'm needed at home." And she said, "Well, have you ever thought about being a commuter student? You can help out at home, and you can also go to college." Again, my mother was a former 3rd and 4th grade elementary teacher, but again, she was very ill. So my teacher took me by the hand to the main office, and she called Goucher College because she was a Goucher alum. And she said, "I have a student for you that I think will be a fantastic student at Goucher, and she needs an opportunity." So she arranged for me to have an interview. I went, I met with the admissions team. I was offered a full scholarship to Goucher College, and I started there in the fall of 1979. My mother died the first day of finals, my freshman year. I spent the remaining years as an English major with a concentration in secondary education. I graduated on time, and I began a career in the Baltimore City Public Schools, where I worked for 15 years as an English teacher, then a project coordinator, and then an assistant principal. Jeane did a very good job of just giving you the list of things that I've done, but they were in order to do something more eventually. And so in January of 1998, I received a call from the dean at Goucher College, Bob Welch. And he said, "LeJeune, we have an idea." And I said, "What's that, Bob?" And he said, "We'd like for you to come back to Goucher." And I said, "To do what?" And he said, "Well, we're having an issue with diversity." And I said, "Still?" And he said, "Yes, we are. We'd like for you to become a member of the education department." And I said, "Well, that would require that I get a PhD, would it not?" And he said, "Yes, but we will sponsor that for you." So Goucher sponsored my education, and I stand here before you as the first member of the Grow Your Own Faculty of Color program. It is what it is. But we can do that. If we really desire it and we're committed to doing that work, then we can find talented students, and we can support them, and we can grow our own. And so in the fall of 1998, I returned to my alma mater, and I worked full-time while going to school part-time. It took me 7 years to get that degree, but it was well worth the effort. I received a degree in 2005, and then I was tenured in 2010. Once tenured, they knocked on the door for me to serve. That very first year I was tenured, I became department chair. The next year, faculty chair. 3 years later, associate provost for undergraduate studies. So it's been serve, serve, serve. And again, I have served often when others have said no, but I believe in the work because it's important work. And I wanted to be the change that I sought, and so how could I do anything but say yes? So, why Ithaca College? When I saw that extensive leadership profile, I said to myself, they're asking for a whole lot. But then I looked at it and I read it very carefully. You were looking for someone with a commitment to undergraduate education and diversity. I have that. You were looking for someone with experience with accreditation expectations and shared governance. I have that. You were looking for someone who has evidence of successful organizational leadership and management. Over the course of my career, I have done that. You were looking for someone to partner with the Division of Student Affairs and other offices to create a wonderful holistic experience for students. I have done that. You wanted someone with effective relationship building skills. That's my signature. But something else that stood out for me about Ithaca College was the eruption of racial tensions on your campus in the fall of 2015 and continuing even through 2016. In the fall of 2014, racial tensions erupted on Goucher's campus. Our students walked out of class. They created a petition. They protested the living and learning environment at our institution. They created a video called Frustrations at Goucher College, in which they detailed their lived experiences inside and outside of the classrooms. And we were stunned by what we saw. Our students were having a difficult time, and we needed to effect some change, and we needed to effect some change immediately. Pardon me. You said you'd take the cap off for me.
I've already failed.
I don't know about you, but sometimes you get dry mouth when you have to speak before a large group, so I'm just being me in all ways of being me, so pardon me. So the students produced this video, and then they made a list of 10 demands, and they marched to the Dean of Students' office, and they presented their demands. Over that winter, and now we're into January of 2015, I worked with the students along with the Dean of Students and the Associate Dean of Students, and one of their demands was that we create an Assistant Dean for Intercultural Affairs, that we create a Center for Race, Equity, and Identity at Goucher College because we had no such thing. And so over that month of January, we created this position. We created interview questions, interview protocols. We brought folks to campus, and in March of 2015, we hired our first inaugural dean, who now runs the Center for Race, Equity, and Identity at Goucher College. We had no dedicated space before. We have a dedicated space today. We were inspired by our students, but at the end of the day, we had to listen to our students because we weren't listening to them. We weren't acknowledging them. We weren't making them feel seen, heard, or valued inside or outside of the classroom in a way that mattered, particularly to our students of color, and we needed to change that work. To that end, we also decided that we needed a center for the advancement for scholarship and teaching at Goucher College. Because as America gets browner and browner, and as our institutions get browner and browner, we cannot teach to the demographic that used to be in our classroom. And oftentimes we have folks teaching to the same demographic that was there 20 years ago and really not teaching to the folks that are sitting in front of them at this time. But what does that require? It requires professional development. We always can get better at what it is that we do. So when I came for the campus interview, I met with several constituencies. And in each constituency, I asked 2 questions. Tell me 2 things you love about IC and 1 or 2 things that you would like to see changed. This is what I heard. People from every constituency are committed to Ithaca College. Faculty are committed to excellence in teaching and learning. Faculty feel a bit demoralized because their work has not been highlighted, recognized, and they have not felt that there has been a commitment to them over the past several years. Again, this is what I heard. There's an immense love for colleagues at this institution and an immense love for students, as stated by faculty. Faculty said they have a sense of community and that sense of community is felt by members of each school. There is a commitment to the professional growth of students, particularly as evidenced by the professional disciplines and what happens in the professional schools. There's an appreciation for the balance between theory and practice. So, what do you want? What change is desired? Repeatedly, I heard, we want a provost who will stay. We want a shared vision, shared goals, and we want a strategic plan. We want to determine who we are as a college, not just the 5 schools individually, but IC collectively. We want to become a diverse, equitable, and inclusive institution. We want clarity about the role of the liberal arts at Ithaca College, and we want clarity about the role of the humanities and sciences at Ithaca College. We want to talk about the ICC. The biggest complaint, and I use that word loosely, but my word, about the ICC has been implementation. So let's not throw out the baby with the bathwater. Let's take a look at it. Let's bring all voices to the table and see if there's something in there, and I believe that it is, that's salvageable and that will service all. It is conceivable that the liberal arts can be given, the ICC can be the foundation through which students receive a liberal arts education. I'll return to that later, but there's something there. Elimination of silos. Folks have talked about silos at this institution. One person went so far as to say that we have so many silos, I want to see the farm. You know, where is the farm? And so how do we do these things that you want? We do them by having a strategic plan. Let's start there. We do them by having a shared vision, but we all need to have many conversations, and so we know what that is. We do these things by implementing that beautiful student success retention plan that your colleagues worked on, because that's a beautiful piece of work. And we do that with intensive assessment and review of the ICC. I can't stand here and tell you what my vision is for Ithaca College, because I haven't spent enough time with you to know what that is. It's not my vision, it's our vision. It's our collective vision. Who do we want to be? Who are we? Who do we want to be? And how are we going to work together to get there as an institution? And so I ask you to give me some time to share that information with you, because we don't have it yet. I have lived in Maryland my entire life. My partner and I are packing our bags, and we're coming north. I love turtlenecks. They will be required. Back to the point. We are leaving Maryland to come and join you. My partner, Deborah, was a principal in the Baltimore City Public Schools. She is resigning from her position at the end of the school year so that she can come here and work as well. We are partners in education, and we want to do that work here. I would not be packing my bags and coming here if I did not believe in the beauty of Ithaca College. I believe you have yet to realize what you can be. You've done fantastic work to date, but there is more to be done. And if it's going to be done, it will take all of us to make it happen. And I would like to lead your academic division as we work together to get to next, because we can, because we will. I thank you.